And good morning and hello. I'm David Boles, and this is Boles.tv, BOLES.tv. It's so nice to have you here on a wintry, bright, nice day here on the East Coast. It's 9 o'clock in New York, and we are here every day, Monday through Friday. This is coming undone. Oh, other way, it's going to fall off. Here we go. Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. here with you. Then, on Saturdays and Sundays, the beautiful and talented Jana Marie is here to chat with you for about an hour at 11 a.m. Eastern. And her show is called Ask a Deaf Person. So if you have a question about disability or hearing loss or education of the disabled, finding jobs for the disabled, getting along with disabled people, she's the one for you to talk to about those issues of finding your way in the disabled landscape. And talking about scheduling, we have Christmas coming up, we have New Year's coming up, and we are here with you. New Year's, Christmas, all the time we're here. Why? Well, we want to reach people all over the world, wherever you are, morning, noon, or night. As long as you're joining us here, when we are live, you can chat with us. And we do that because sometimes people are lonely on the holidays. Sometimes they don't celebrate Christmas, and there's nothing else on. So you can stop by and say hello to us, and we'll be here, and we're ready to chat and get along and have a good time. We have a lot of interesting things to discuss with you today, and I hope that you'll join us in our chat room if you have any pending questions about what's happening. We're starting with our friend Dora, who lives in New York, and who just happened to send me a couple of really fun videos from a couple of years ago. This is a beautiful sunset outside her home that we will play for you now. You can enjoy the beautiful colors in the sky. There's Jana Marie. On Saturday, Jana Marie will talk about Christmas and celebrations. Come on over and have fun learning ASL and history. Absolutely. We cannot wait for Jana Marie on Saturday. And on Fridays, at around 10:15 a.m., Jana Marie is here live in person to give you a stricter lesson in American Sign Language. Saturdays, Sundays are kind of a free-for-all chat, very relaxed. Fridays, a little more formal, a little more regimented, but you can still ask her questions and be involved in the teaching and the learning. And we're still enjoying this lovely sunset from Dora in New York City, around New York City. She's not in New York City. In and around. And you can see the sun and the moon. And it's just a wonderful demonstration of what it means to live a life in a big city or near a big city. Here's another one that the Dora sent us. This is a new friend she discovered from a couple of years ago.
Hello, Mr. Seagull. How are you? What are you doing all alone? Aw.
Oh, I believe that... Uh-oh. An error occurred. Please try again later. That doesn't sound good. No, I believe that was Dora speaking. I don't believe it was another seagull. I'll reload this and see if it reloads, see if we can get past our problem. I watched this several times, and it worked beautifully.
Hello, Mr. Seagull. How are you? What are you doing all alone? Aw. Wow, I've never gotten this close to a seagull. Beautiful. I guess it's on a Sunday stroll. Well, I'll leave you alone. Bye.
Well, isn't that lovely? Love it. Love the video from our friend Dora. Sort of live from New York. From a couple of years ago. And now we reply to Jana Marie. JMS. Thanks for the promo. We will be there. Have you decided what you're teaching us on Friday? Question mark. We'll see if she's still watching. You never know. It's a busy day. And our seagull stream had a little burp. But then it was all fine. Well, as we wait for the Jana Marie to reply, or perhaps not reply, we're going to talk about big city tipping, which is just fascinating and terrifying at the same time. A lot of people don't believe in tipping. Oh, there's Dora! You can hear I'm a New Yorker. Now that was really, I don't want to say the funniest part, but the most charming part of your video, Dora. Because your photographs online are very serious. It looks like you're very erudite and you speak like this and your Cruella DeVille outfit. That's how I envision you in real life. And you're not. You're a New Yorker having fun on a Sunday talking to a seagull. It was delicious. We need more real Dora. Oh, it's a surprise for Friday from Jana Marie. Come and find out. Well, okay. I'll be there. Now, some might think she doesn't know what she's doing on Friday. I'm not saying that. I believe it's a surprise, because she is very surprising. But she's figured out what she's doing on Saturday, which is very interesting. We'll just have to wait and find out. So Dora is saying hello to Jana Marie. And yes, Dora, I checked both of your videos before we ran them, and there was no identifying information. You couldn't see a street sign. We have no idea where you are in the world. Until you started speaking. Then we can pinpoint. Not even New York City, we can go what borough you're from. Probably what street, just by your dialect. And I'm kidding. She knows I'm kidding. It's a New York joke. And there's Jana Marie, sweetheart. So we'll talk about a little bit about big city tipping as the conversation completes. And then Jana says hello again. I'm so glad she's here and she's with us and she's saying something. Oh, hello back. Everybody's chatting. It's so nice to have chat. And I grew up in a, I guess, family, I don't know, some of the family who did not believe in tipping. I don't get tips. Why should I tip people? Well, you tip at a restaurant because the restaurant people are being paid $2 an hour and they rely on tips. And the government figures in their tips. I'm not tipping anybody. So with those kind of family members, you pay the bill, you go out to the car, oh, I forgot something in the restaurant, and you go back in the restaurant and you leave a proper tip. That's how you get around people who won't tip. But if you live in a nice building, what they call luxury housing, and this is probably people who are paying between $2,000 and $5,000 a month in rent in an apartment, and there are people who pay that much. Some people pay $15,000, and they don't have a lot of money, but that's what they pay. And you have to figure out how much do you tip the building staff, because they expect it, and you deal with them every single day. And for 17 years, we lived in a very small apartment building that was not very well taken care of, and we didn't ever tip anything because it wasn't worth it. Nobody in the building tipped because nobody really had any money, so there was no expectation of a tip. But when you move up into a more expensive building, and you get an email from management with everybody's photograph on it saying, "Happy Holidays. If you're interested in tipping, here's the names of all the people who work in the building." You got to take the hint. And some people who are not from here, they might be from China or other parts of Asia, and they think that means giving Christmas cards. And it does mean giving Christmas cards, but Christmas cards with money inside. And they want cash. Excuse me. It's hot box time. And they want cash. They don't want a check. They don't want a donation to your favorite charity in their name. They want cold hard cash. So every year you have to figure out, well, how much do I tip? And you go online in some of these groups and they're talking about tipping and how much do I tip and what's too much and what's not enough. So I'll kind of break it down for you from the New Jersey side for luxury housing, luxury tipping. Let's say you live in a big building. And in Jersey City, there are lots of big buildings now, and there are 500 apartments, let's say. That's kind of an average. Some of these buildings have 800 apartments. They're sky high. And let's say there are maybe 20 workers in the building, including now I don't know why management wants a tip. I think it's very tacky, but they include themselves in the tip sheet. So you're going to tip your super and the porters and the front desk, 24-hour concierge. It adds up. And you're going to tip your super more than you tip a porter because you don't really interact with your porters every day, and your super determines the happiness of your life, as does the front desk. So not everyone's going to be tipped the same. Some are going to be tipped a little bit more. Some are going to be tipped a little bit less. So, but we're doing generic tipping guidelines for luxury housing in Jersey City. The Jersey City area. So you have 500 apartments, let's say, and on average, you're going to tip, let's say, $50 per worker. Some a little bit more, some a little bit less. But on average, just to make this a simple math problem, $50 per worker, and there are 20 workers in the building. So that's like $1,000 in tips per apartment times 500 apartments. So if you're doing your math with me, that is what? $500,000 in holiday tips for the building, which averages out to $25,000 per worker in the building in holiday bonuses and tips from residents. And some residents tip a lot more than that, and some don't. So let's say, because we're doing simple math here, 50% of that is done in tips. Some apartments don't tip, some people tip more, some people tip less, so we'll knock it in half. An average of $500 per apartment, let's say. That's still $12,500 tips per person. Now, to me, that's a lot of money. And these workers, I don't think, make a lot of more money than that. In some cases, I think they're paid minimum wage in many cases. So $12,500 for a holiday tip from a building, that's big dough. And if you're in New York City, my understanding and my advice to you is that all of those numbers that I just shared with you for Jersey City, even though you're 11 miles away from New York City, is you have to double it. It's just about double. Everything in New York City is about exactly double what it is in Jersey City, which is why a lot of people are moving to Jersey City. So that makes it, with my original calculations, $50,000 per worker in New York City in holiday tips for an average building of 500 apartments. And if you then do my rest of my math and do half of that, that's 25 grand in holiday tips for being a worker in a big building. Now, do I think they get that much? No. I do not think they get anywhere close to that much money. But there are people who do tip, and we are one of the people who do tips. And it makes a big difference in how people relate to you in the building. And if you don't tip, oh boy, you're going to be in trouble. What are you agreeing with, Dora? Are you agreeing with the tipping or are you agreeing with the not tipping? So it's a lot of pressure. Do you give them a card? Do you just give them a money envelope? Do you write a little note? Yes, yes, and yes, and yes. And we've tried all of those things. And the first year we were here, we tipped everybody, which I think surprised people because I don't think people who worked in this building, there weren't a lot of luxury buildings in Jersey City when we moved in. So I think that some of the workers were a little surprised they got tips, and we wrote them all nice little handwritten notes. And then they would write us back a wonderful thank you card, which was just great. And then the second year came. And the expectation is set. And you give a little bit more, and you write a little more, and you don't get a thank you. You don't get a card back. You get an acknowledgement, a head nod, hey, you owe me a tip. So just the whole attitude changes, which kind of sours you on the whole experience. But what are you going to do? It's part of luxury living. This is the world in which we find ourselves spinning now. Tipping. And we believe in tipping. When we go out to eat, when we interact with people, when we get our hair cut, we tip. We don't wait till the end of the year. Some people just like go to the barber and get a haircut once a month. And then they go into the barber and give, $50, $100 tip at the end of the year. Well, you just tip as you're going. Tipping is a must. Oh, Dora, I'm glad you agree with that. A lot of people don't believe in tipping. They just think it's, tacky. I wrote a whole article in Boles blogs about pre-tipping, which I absolutely strictly agree with. And the idea is this. You hire someone to, let's say, a plumber, to come in and fix your pipes. And the plumber's going to expect a tip. And you say, look, just to make this easy, and you say because you're busy or I'm going to give you $100 now as a pre-tip. And if things don't work out, or you have a hard time or you can't get it done, then, just give the tip back and no hard feelings. Well, no one's going to give a tip back. And once they have the money, they know what they're getting, say $100. And they're going to do that job better than any job that has ever been done. And you know where pre-tipping is really the best? And you don't even say, I want the money back. You just, when they walk in the door, you give them the money. Cable installers. Because they're the ones who really determine if your life is going to be good or bad when it comes to getting on the internet or having any kind of video. They can either give you a new modem that's in their truck, or they can give you one that's banged up. And they claim they don't have any new modems, but if you give them some money up front, they're more inclined to find you a better working modem. And then they usually say at the end, thank you so much, here's my card. If you have any problems over the next week or so, give me a call and I'll come over and fix it. Right? And that's what you want. Because if you're going to have problems with your cable, TV, or internet, it's going to happen within the first week of installation, probably. So that works well. They walk in the door, hey, here's your tip. Thank you for helping me. I really appreciate it. And they're like, what do you mean? Why are you tipping me? I'm just the cable guy. And sometimes with the front desk, if you have something super important that's valuable, like a new computer or something that is of great value to you that you need right away and you don't want to wait for them to sift through it, then you go to the front desk and say, hey, I'm expecting a really important package today. It's super important to me. Here's $20. And even though there is a no tipping policy in the building, which I find really hilarious, that you're not allowed to tip the building staff during the year, but at the end of the year you're allowed to tip. I mean, it's ridiculous. The smart workers say thank you so much and shake your hand and take the money. And the ones who don't, oh no, we're not allowed to take tips. It's like, come on, why? You don't have to pretend. Everybody takes a tip. So make sure at the end of the year you've saved up your tip money, because you're going to have to pay and pay big, and the expectation is once you pay, you're going to forever pay. Now, some people never pay and never get in trouble. Some people just give cards. And you can see the expression on the workers when they get this Christmas card handed to them and they know there's no money in it. Now, if you're on social media, as I am, well, maybe we should wait on this. I think this is gonna take a little while. It's gonna be a lot of fun, and it is time for a blood pressure break, and so we are now taking one. I may tip myself in the between time. I don't know. I'll let you know. Back in just a moment. And we are back. From our break, I'm David Boles. This is Boles.tv. You can reach me at david@boles.tv via email. If you have a question for Jana, you can reach out to her directly. Jana@boles.tv. So we were talking about tipping, and it's strange how some people will tip and some people will not tip. And some people will tip 10%. Nobody's ever tipped 10%. It needs to be at least 15%. We usually tip 25%. Just because you want to show your appreciation for people who do a good job. And even if people don't do a good job, you don't withhold their tip. The tip is not for the level of service. The tip is for the experience you have in the entire place, or the restaurant where you live, whatever. You're not tipping based on if you like your server or not in a restaurant. And so many people are that way. They write nasty notes on their receipt, no tip, you were rude. Those people are just awful. And this is the article that inspired me to have a chat about tipping today, because they talk about tipping. The standard holiday tip for your doorman in New York City can range from $50 to $100. It is also helpful to know the economics of the worker's employment. For example, a barber who is renting a chair in a shop might tug on your wallet a little more than one who owns the shop or owns or operates from their home. Tipping can have a significant impact on the recipient. A recent study published in the International Journal of Hospitality Management found that higher than expected tips had a positive effect on workers' feelings of social dignity, as well as their discretionary efforts on the job, such as interacting with customers, with yet another coronavirus variant threatening the hospitality sector. Tips for service workers are particularly crucial for their bottom line. And it's always been that way. It's not just because of coronavirus. And people in my family say, nobody tips me. Of course nobody tips you. You're on salary. You're a teacher. Nobody tips a teacher. Some people try to tip a teacher, and you're not supposed to accept any kind of money for being an elementary school teacher. But you do get gifts. But that's just a crazy way of thinking, that everyone is just like you, and therefore you're not going to help anybody who isn't like you. Now, if you happen to be a little bit of a tech nut like me, techno nut, I guess, is more familiar, you may or may not know about TweetDeck. TweetDeck, and you go to tweetdeck.com and it will forward you to tweetdeck.twitter.com. This is only on a desktop. TweetDeck has been around forever. Twitter now owns it. I believe they did not own it in its first iteration. And what it does is gives you a fascinating experience with your Twitter feed. And they have a new preview. And I guess I am one of the lucky few who are involved or have access to this preview of the new TweetDeck. As you can see in the bottom left corner, leave TweetDeck preview. I'm not leaving because I just joined it. So I'll take you through a little bit of what this is. First, I'll click on these little three-dot icons here and go to display. Hello, why is this not working? Let me refresh the page. TweetDeck. Oh, we're having a slow day on TweetDeck. And I'll explain why this is loading so slowly. The explanation will be clear in a moment. We hope. Okay. So I clicked on that little thing and clicked on display that you can now see. And because I am a Twitter Blue subscriber, I can change several different things in my view of how I view the world. The first thing I'm changing is my color. I don't like blue. I like the purple. So I'm going to try to click on this purple here. Aha! So all my hyperlinks, hot links, whatever you want to call them, are now purple instead of blue. I can go lights out, which is dark. I can go dim, which is not dark. And I can go default, which is white. I'm staying with lights out. The default column width I choose is medium. I want my text as big as possible because I'm old. And when I'm done, I click on the box to close the display. So here we go. This is TweetDeck. TweetDeck gives you a wide variety of views of your Twitter experience. And it can be very overwhelming and very engaging and very super duper specifico. So here, this is my home feed. And if I click on see new tweets, it loads my stream. Now I follow 40,000 people, so if this were streaming in real time, it would be going by so quickly you couldn't read it. So there's sometimes it just kind of updates itself. Sometimes I have to click on see new tweets. But on my big screen, which is not what you're seeing, I have this whole, it takes up my whole screen. And it's like the Matrix. Things flashing, other things going by, searches. I encourage you to take a look at TweetDeck. So that's the main screen, home, for my account, right? Okay, then here we go over here, explore. This shows you what's going on and what people are talking about. What's trending, what's specifically for you, the variety, traumatizing years with Bryan Singer. All of this happening in real time. So this is the other column. Now we continue on. My notifications. From other verified users like me, I can see precisely what they're saying to me, including the dreaded Aura Ring people, which has sort of worked itself out, but not really. I can click on mentions, see who's talking about me, what I need to reply to. There's our friend Dora. And then I can see all. And all is what people are retweeting, what people are liking. Thankfully, what people are not liking. This is my profile, so I can see what's going on, who I am, where I'm coming from. And I can delete this column. I can get information about the column. And I have options on the column. Now I click on options, and I can make that auto refresh, which means it just updates on its own. I can force a manual refresh of that column myself. I can make the column, let me see here if I can scoot this over a little bit more. I can make my column width narrow. Okay, so it's my profile is now very narrow. I can make it medium, which is what we had, or I can make it super wide, which is big. I like the big, but it takes up a lot of space. The media preview size is small or standard. It has standard. I don't know what small means. I guess we'll see what we can find out. Okay. Big change there? Don't know. Oh, it did. I think it just went back to... Okay, that's small. No, we don't like small. Standard. Overview, show or hide information about this column. I can make a copy of this column, or I can search my tweets. Oh boy, Dora. She bought a phone tripod. That's wonderful. So watch out, world. Oh, that sounds very threatening. It's both a threat and very exciting. We're all about exciting threats here on the Boles.tv live stream. What is Twitter Blue? Well, how could this be any more fun? Our next panel is search. I use this a lot. Now, this is how I do a search. I type in my name, my username on Twitter. Okay, David Boles, that's me. And then let's type in Twitter Blue and see what happens. Now, there should be something there. It's looking like there's nothing there. I find that hard to believe. As you can see on the right-hand side, I did an earlier search on COVID vaccines. After Facebook anointed me with a blue check mark, I thought Twitter might actually verify my David Boles account. Well, it did. They did. That was back in 2016. So let's do a search all over again. A new search this time for... Oh, that's right. Okay. How do you clear a search? That's interesting. Latest tweets. Don't want that. It's not searching. Huh. Well. This is getting a little tedious. So, let's just go into a new browser and look up Twitter Blue. A new browser window. Introducing Twitter Blue. What is Twitter Blue? I love Twitter Blue. Some people think it's ridiculous. Meet Twitter Blue. I think it costs $3 a month. And you can bookmark folders. Want an easy way to better organize your content? You can bookmark folders. Lets you organize tweets you've saved by letting you manage content. So when you need it, you can find it easily and efficiently. You can undo a tweet with Twitter Blue. Forgot to tag someone? Made an error in spelling? That happens. Preview and revise your tweet before it goes live. With undo tweet, you can set a customizable timer of up to 30 seconds to click undo, which means take back your tweet before the tweet, reply, or thread gets posted on your timeline. You can correct mistakes easily by previewing what your tweet will look like before the world can see it. Reader mode. This is also in Twitter Blue. Reader mode promotes a more beautiful reading experience by getting rid of the noise. We are making it easier for you to keep up with long threads on Twitter by turning them into easy-to-read text so you can read all the latest content seamlessly. Now, what else is on Twitter Blue? Let me see if I can go back to TweetDeck and see if I can find Twitter Blue here, because you can also change your colors as I showed you, which I thought was very delightful. That's columns. Let's see. Where are my settings? Do I have settings? Maybe I don't have settings in this. Oh, it's just so confusing. I can add another account, which is very dangerous because then you'll never get out of TweetDeck. Display, manage deck settings and privacy. I know what to do. Let's see, Twitter. We'll do this. We'll see if it pops up. They change things all the time. So if I go here, you see that fire thing? Those are top articles. Twitter Blue. Here, this is on my account, Twitter Blue. This is what it does. Undo tweet. Labs, you get access to early features, which I guess includes, probably my TweetDeck preview. You get ad-free articles. I can see my impact. I can manage a subscription. And my most favorite thing is I get to pick my color. My display color. So my undo tweet options are 60 seconds, 30 seconds, 20 seconds, 5 seconds. I pick 60 seconds. Why? Because I can. Labs, pinned conversations, upload longer videos. For your desktop, you can upload and tweet videos that are up to 10 minutes long. And I had a conversation earlier this week with Dora about that. Dora says editing tweets is something everybody needs. That should be a standard feature. No, thanks for the wrap-up. Well, I have a problem with that in that Twitter moves so fast. And people, if you're going to edit a tweet, you have to block replies from it for a certain amount of time. And what usually happens is people can, on some services, edit their tweet up to 10 minutes, let's say, and then they can't edit it any longer. And I had an experience in a WordPress forum, a support forum, where I replied to a woman who sent me a very nasty message, and it was public. And I replied to her, taking apart her nastiness with an equal sense of urgency. And then I started getting all these replies. Why are you being mean to her? What did she ever do to you? So I went back and looked, and she had edited her original reply to me to make it all full of sunshine and apples and oranges. And she made it look like I was attacking her when I was responding to the accusations she was making to me. And I said, I'm not attacking her, I'm responding to what she wrote. And they said, but look what she wrote, it's all full of sunshine and you're being mean to her. And I said, well, I was responding to what she put up originally. And then, because I'm smart, I provided screenshots of her original message because I knew the type of person that she was and that she had no moral character whatsoever. And I said, here is her original reply to me that you can see. It has timestamps, it's edited, the moderators can go back and see what changes she made in her reply to me. And this is what I was replying to, her original message, not what she went back and edited. And then nobody apologized to me, everybody just got all quiet. Nobody said, oh gosh, well that makes sense now. We understand why you said the things you did because what she said to you is a lot worse than what you said to her. Yeah. So that's the one danger about being able to edit tweets, which I know is why Twitter does not allow you to edit tweets. Facebook, you can go back and edit. Now, if you make a mark and say, this tweet has been edited, but it goes by so quickly. The life of a tweet is fewer than 10 minutes, and it just disappears. So if you're going to allow people to edit their tweet, or just to make a correction, you need to lock it so no one can reply until that time expiration has gone by. But when you're dealing with people who are hot and heavy on Twitter, no one wants to wait 1 second to reply to something that somebody said. And that's what Twitter Blue tries to get around. They say, okay, say what you want to say, and we're going to hold it for 60 seconds so you can read it and make sure you want to send it and make sure there are no errors in spelling, or you want to say something again, you can undo it, take it back, but once you send it, it's done and it's over. And that's why Twitter will not allow people to edit their tweets. So that's it, Dora, and I see that you see what they're trying to say. And there are a lot of people who disagree. They say, I want to go back and edit my tweets. It's just a little bit dangerous from the point of view of knowing who you're dealing with. And there are a lot of really nasty people on the internet, as we all know. And some say especially on Twitter. As I say, Facebook is sitting in your grandmother's parlor. Whereas Twitter is the backstreet alley abortion clinic, where anything goes and everything goes, and it's very vicious. Facebook at least has the facsimile of being a little bit more proper. Although over time they have disintegrated into something that's a little bit more traumatic, based on where you go and where you look. Now, I don't know if you know who Kevin Drum is. I love Kevin. Kevin is Cal Pundit, is how he started his political career. Then for many years he worked for Mother Jones. He has multiple myeloma, so he is indeed very ill, but he continues to write. He loves photography. We have Friday cat blogging with Kevin. I believe he lives with his sister. He talks about all of this in his blog. So he left Mother Jones and started jabberwalking.com. That's his personal blog. And Kevin kind of swings back and forth between being radically liberal and being annoyingly conservative, which is probably the exact tone and representation of where we are as Americans. And yesterday he put up a little article about Trump. And I'm not even going to play this because it's so revolting, and I don't want to get in trouble for playing something that I'm not allowed to play on the live stream. But Kevin posts this thing with Bill O'Reilly and Trump that we've seen all over the news today, where they both admit that they have the vaccine and they're both boosted. And people in the crowd boo them. And Trump says, "Don't boo me." But the most interesting thing about this is not that Donald Trump is vaccinated. We know that. We know every single personality on Fox television is vaccinated because they have to be in order to remain employed. And then they get on the air and are anti-vax. It's revolting. But the strange thing about this Trump thing is Trump wants all the credit for these vaccines, which he does deserve because it was under his administration where he got these 3 vaccines up and going, and Biden can't even get home test kits to everyone. However, the most disturbing part about this is not what Trump says, it's what he doesn't say, which is always that way with Donald Trump. He does not take this opportunity to say, please support what I did for you and get vaccinated. That's not what he says. He never says that. He says, I want the credit for the vaccines. You deserve the credit for the vaccines. Don't let the liberals claim credit for our vaccines. They belong to us. But then he doesn't take the next logical step and say, so get one as part of your victory lap. Which, like it or not, would really do a lot of good for all of America. But of course he's not going to say that. So Kevin Drum's analysis is this is just jaw-dropping. Finally, a year after vaccines became available, Donald Trump is telling his fans that he was one responsible for getting them out so fast they've saved tens of millions of lives. You're playing right into their hands when you're sort of like, oh, the vaccine. We saved tens of millions of lives. Take the credit. Don't let them take that away from you. Them is liberals, in case you're wondering, and that's fine. Trump could pretend that he uncovered a plot by Hunter Biden to wreck the vaccine supply, if that's what it takes to get conservatives on board. Can you imagine if Trump had taken this position from the start? We'd probably be 90% vaxxed by now. Absolutely true. Republicans might have a higher vaccination rate than Democrats. 100% true. Why hasn't it happened? I don't know. Better late than never, I suppose. I wonder how this is going to go over with the faithful. And that's what's so odd in that whole conversation, where he admonishes the people in the corner booing him for booing him for being boosted, but then he won't take the next step and say, get vaccinated. And here are some of the comments in Kevin's article. Mind-boggling, besides the horrendous lies, is the fact that these two idiots have gotten all 3 shots. Now, Kevin swings back and forth between being annoyingly conservative and wildly liberal, but his commenters are pretty darn liberal. They're not nearly as idiotic as their followers. Given they were booed about having gotten their boosters, either their supporters are even bigger wackadoodles or shills for the WHO. So far, we know it's not going over well. How refreshing that Team Trump-panity is being booed by their paying audience. Must be frustrating, trying to belatedly claim credit for the vaccine and then actually getting your base to use it after discouraging all manner of public health measures for 2 years. But hey, Sarah Palin is going to get jabbed over her dead body. It's funny how Sarah Palin just demands relevancy by saying ridiculous things. So, the most important part about Kevin, right over here in the sidebar, the cats. He has 2 cats. We adopted this cat in 2014. We call him Hilbert, named after David Hilbert, a famous German mathematician. There's Hilbert. And this one is Charlie, a kitten we adopted in 2021. Cute. And he blogs about his cats, what they're doing, who they're bothering, in addition to taking on Donald Trump. Really delightful. You gotta love Kevin. And I do. I respect him a lot. He's very, very, very sick. And yet, he continues to work. And work. And work. And work. Here's bonus cat blogging. Then he gets serious about Delta. Lunchtime photos. Puts up a lot of photos. He has a very, very nice camera. All these images you see at the top of his blog that keep rotating. Those are Kevin's photos. Do we have any data about his health? Yeah. He loves graphs. Kevin loves graphs. Friday cat logging. Now see, here he is. He's in favor of bullying people into getting vaccinated. But then this is Kevin. Consumer Price Index. He says the Great Resignation is not true, and he shows you all of the evidence he has for it. I'm looking for a health update. Healthcare spending. Well, maybe there hasn't been a health update. He posts like 2 or 3 times a day. A lot of very interesting facts. And sometimes he has facts that people don't want to hear about. Lunchtime photos. Well, I'm having a hard time finding anything from Kevin based on his... I wonder if he has a search. Oh, okay. Cancer. Health update. Okay, here we go. So this is the sad part of being with Kevin, because he's very blunt. Nothing new to report on the multiple myeloma front this month. This is from June. He's kind of had hard times since then. But he shows you, over time, the medications he's taking, when he changes doctors, when he's out of it. He takes some of these medications that keep him up for 3 days straight. And when he can't sleep at night, he goes out and takes photographs. And then he'll sleep for 4 days and we'll never hear from him until he wakes up and feels better. He's a tough guy. Kevin Drum, jabberwalking.com. And on that note, we're taking a small blood pressure break. Back in a moment. break. I'm David Boles, BOLES.TV. So glad you're here with us today. Interesting conversation about technology and tipping, and we're just getting started. Have you heard about this terrible Log4j thing? And if you haven't, you should be aware of it because it's here for you and it's coming for you. And it may have already hit you and you don't even know about it. And this is not to scare you because there's nothing we can really do. This is something that we need to be protected from. But we at least need to know what questions to ask. Log4j, and this will be very complicated, but we won't spend a lot of time on it. But just so you can be aware of it, so if you hear it, oh, Log4j, maybe I should pay attention to the news. It's a chunk of code that helps software applications keep track of their past activities. Instead of reinventing logging, when you log into a web service, it remembers you, remembers your password, remembers who you are, places a cookie in your browser, and those passwords and all that stuff should be hashed and salted so it can't be read by outside nefarious people. Logging is record keeping. It's a component each time developers build new software. They often use existing code, like Log4j, instead of writing their own code. And Log4j is a chunk of code that is free to use anyone on the internet. It's open access. And it's widely used, appearing in a big chunk of internet services. And each time Log4j is asked to log something new, it tries to make sense of that new entry and add it to a database record. So it's record whatever you type in, it's saving and then putting somewhere else for later use. And here's where things get really messy. A few weeks ago, the cybersecurity community realized that by simply asking Log4j to log a line of malicious code, which means something nefarious, something that can hurt you or steal your information, Log4j would then execute that code in the process of saving it and retrieving it and holding it, effectively letting bad actors, bad people, mean people on the internet trying to steal your information or your money, grab control of servers that are running Log4j. So these bad people are logging in because they know that the server is running Log4j, and they know that if they type in a malicious code that they can own and control that server and lock it down or erase it or steal information from it. Reports differ when it comes to who first raised the alarm about the Log4j vulnerability. Some people say it surfaced in a forum dedicated to the video game Minecraft. Others point to a security researcher at a Chinese tech company, Alibaba. But experts say, well, it just happens to be the biggest software vulnerability of all times in terms of the number of services, sites, and devices exposed. Oh boy, what does this mean? Let's continue. The fact that Log4j is such a ubiquitous piece of software, meaning it's everywhere, because it's free, easy to use, it works, that's what makes it such a big deal. Imagine if a common type of lock used by millions of people to keep their doors shut was suddenly discovered not to work. Switching a single lock for a new one is easy, but finding all the millions of buildings that have the same defective lock would take time and an immense amount of work. Log4j is part of the Java programming language, which is one of the foundational ways software has been written since the mid-90s. So since the mid-90s, this issue, this Log4j problem, has been embedded in all of the software that we've been using. Huge swaths of the computer code that modern life runs on uses Java and Log4j. If this were a movie, it would be horrifying. Worse than A Nightmare on Elm Street, because we're not sleeping. This is the real world. Cloud storage companies such as Google, Amazon, Microsoft, which provide the digital backbone for millions of other apps, are affected by Log4j. So are giant software sellers who use programs used by millions, such as IBM, Oracle, and Salesforce. Devices that connect to the internet, such as TVs and security cameras, are at risk as well. Why? Because it's free, so let's just take it and put it in. Even NASA's Ingenuity helicopter on Mars uses Log4j. Hackers who try to break into digital spaces, right, to steal information or plant malicious software, suddenly have a massive new opportunity to try to get into nearly anywhere they want. That doesn't mean everything will be hacked, but it just got easier to do that. Just as if the locks on half the homes and businesses in the city suddenly stop working all at once. Dora says she's shaking her head. And have you heard of the Telegram scams? A friend was approached to sign up. Apparently, it's easy to hack content lists and to do mischief. Right. Let me see, I'm checking something on my phone, which is just right here next to me. Yes, so I'm checking my phone. I thought I had this Telegram. I thought I had it installed, but I guess I don't. It's a free software, cross-platform, cloud-based, instant messaging service. End-to-end encryption. I guess I must have uninstalled it, which is fascinating to me. Updated a week ago. Protected content in groups and channels. Very interesting. Yes, be careful. I won't install. Yeah. We're always under attack. A friend who will remain nameless, we'll call her Dora, told me recently, a week or two ago, that she doesn't have any banking apps on her phone. She doesn't trust them. And I understand that. I said, well, I think, like the modern iPhone can be very safe. But she says, I don't care. I'll go in person to the bank. I'll do my business there. And I think that's very smart. Not everyone needs to do banking on their phone. So we go to Twitter, because that's where all the information is on Twitter, about this Log4j thing. And this is on December 10, so this is 10 days ago. Tim Heckman says, today, Java runs on billions of devices is not a statement of pride, but a statement of pure terror. So these companies are trying to go and fix this Log4j vulnerability before it's unmanageable in the wilds. Will they be able to do it? I don't know. I'm slightly concerned about it, honestly. But we try to persevere, and we try to move on, and we try not to be too influenced by these bad actors. But stay awake. If you hear people talking about Log4j, look it up. Get involved. Now, sometimes we talk about cultural appropriation. And doing things that should be done and then trying to get credit for them because you think you're being special about it. Well, Meta, formerly known as the Facebook, has made a big ballyhoo about helping the deaf and hard of hearing communicate on Portal. Now you're thinking, oh, using a computer. Thanks for the follow, Christy Dickey. And you think, oh gosh, isn't that great? Facebook is helping deaf people get into the online portal. Well, Portal is proprietary. Portal is the massive failure that is Facebook trying to compete with Hey Google and Siri and the Amazon devices, and to try to get some attention and to go around those blockades of these other bigger, more successful ways of communicating via proprietary systems. Meta has announced, oh, look, we're going to help deaf people communicate on our private portal. Which on the surface sounds, oh, isn't that wonderful? Virtue signaling. So here's a little video from the Facebook. I believe I've turned the sound off because some of these things have music and I can't run that on here because I get in trouble. So, but I believe it's open caption so you can at least see what's going on. See the story. 32 seconds. This is their commercial. That's a relay operator, nothing to do with Meta or Facebook. Okay, so that's the Facebook portal, where you can go on there and talk to people. So, Facebook announced we're making video relay services available on Portal to help deaf and hard of hearing people communicate more easily with family, friends, and coworkers, but they have to be on Portal. It's not just communicate with them as you would pick up a telephone and call them, or pick up a regular video telephone and call somebody. The VRS apps on Portal bring an American Sign Language interpreter on screen to connect English and Spanish-speaking deaf and hard of hearing people with hearing people through calls 24/7. Okay, sounds great. Not new. Not an initiative. Portal's proprietary smart camera keeps you in frame while also freeing both hands during calls, which are essential to the deaf and hard of hearing to maintain communication. Yeah. If two deaf people are talking, they don't need to hold anything. And if a deaf person is talking to a hearing person, they don't have to hold anything. I don't understand that. So this is the rest of, oh, aren't we great? And this is how we're doing it. So then they make you go over to this other portal, which is Purple, which is a provider of video phone protocols for the deaf and hard of hearing to start an app. They call an operator who signs, and then the operator makes the voice call for the deaf person. And what most people don't realize is these VPU devices are free. And these services. And there are competing services. So Purple is in competition with VRS. VRS is in competition with Sorensen, and so on. Because there's big money in that, because the FCC pays for all of it. So there's this big sale that, oh, you can get a free video phone if you just sign up with us here. Oh, really? Who pays for the video calls? The government. Who pays for the video phone? The government. So don't let Facebook or Purple think that they're doing you this big favor by offering you this opportunity, because it's an opportunity that anybody can have. if you qualify. And you have to be a deaf person. You can't be an interpreter. You can't have a family member who's deaf. You have to be a deaf person to get this free video phone. So this is a video phone that works only on the Facebook portal. And here is a longer promotional video about the same ding-dang thing with the sound turned off. But it's open captioned. Okay, so if you don't know anything about anything, you think, oh, isn't that neat? Well, look at all these things that Facebook is providing. But it's proprietary. You're locked into it. Dora's friend is still resisting sign language, but in reality, we've already started using our own version. What does that mean? Does that mean like gestures or home signs or what? And this explains what Portal is. Portal Plus, Portal Go. It's the proprietary way of video communicating on Facebook. And you can get a free device, you can request an account, but this is no different than the regular video phones you can buy on the street, but not even buy on the street, you can request on your own to get them delivered. Oh, gestures. You know, gestures are okay. And this is a question for Jana Marie, but she's not here, so I will do my best to answer, but you can ask her yourself on the weekends. Gestures can be helpful. They're called home signs, where you kind of invent your own gestures for things, but if a person is truly losing their hearing, they're probably going to want to communicate beyond just the immediate family who knows their specific home signs. And I'm reminded of a friend of ours in Iowa who is deaf and her family is hearing, and they have a whole series of home signs that they use. They can't really communicate even in written text. They can't communicate through a video phone that we see here. They have to get together in person to try to communicate based on these home signs. Oh, Jana Marie's taking over. She's here. Boop, boop. It looks like home signs to me. Whatever is best for you to communicate. But if this person is, serious about being able to communicate while losing hearing, it makes sense to try to learn a language or a form of communication that can be helpful and useful beyond the immediate family. But Jana Marie has more information about that. She can answer that question. So just beware, if you're interested in these video phones, if I were you, I would not get ZP on Portal. I would get a regular video phone from, say, Purple itself or Sorensen that works with all other video phones. This video phone works only on Facebook, as I understand it. And you don't want that. And here's the problem with something like Portal, these proprietary business enterprises that try to get you locked into one form of communication, is that's not the way the world is going. the world is going open. And the reason Facebook is doing this is because they're getting outclassed by Google Meet, by Zoom, Facebook, Zoom, Google Meet. Those are the main players in video communication. And they don't have interpreters, but a lot of them are now starting to have automatic live closed captions, which are not as good as an interpreter. If you need an interpreter because you're deaf or someone you know is deaf, then that's okay. Then you pick a provider, like a Sorensen or a Purple. But don't pick Facebook, because then you're only going to be able to talk to other Facebook people who have that other thing. But if you are on, let's say, an open source system like Sorensen, a Sorensen person can call a Purple person. I don't believe a Portal person can call outside the Portal network, from what I've read so far. If I'm wrong, I'm sure I'll be corrected by Facebook. But the more ubiquitous this kind of video communication can become, the better it is for people who are using the technology. So FaceTime, that's what I was trying to say, FaceTime is big because you can FaceTime someone immediately, especially if you're deaf, or if you're a deaf person and you're calling a hearing person who knows sign language. You can go back and forth and have a communication. And you don't have to buy anything necessarily. You don't have to have a proprietary system. You're paying for it for yourself with your bandwidth and your Wi-Fi, but it belongs to you and you can carry it around in your pocket, and you don't have to answer to Sorensen or Purple. There's also a thing called CapTel, which is for people who are hard of hearing. This might help Dora's friend. That's a regular telephone, and you can get it for free if you qualify. Where you, as the hard of hearing person, pick up the phone, dial a phone number, and that goes to a relay operator, text only. And on the screen, big screen of the telephone, the relay operator types what the other person is saying to you, not what you're saying to them. So whoever you're calling has a regular telephone. You're picking up the phone because you're using your voice, but you can't hear very well, so you need help. You call, let's say a pizza place. Hello, pizza place, I'd like to order a large pizza. And you can't hear what they're saying back. And that's what the operator types back to you. What size pizza do you want? What do you want on it? What size pizza do I want? What do I want on it? Oh, I see what you're saying. I would like a large pizza. Okay, you'll have a large pizza delivered in 15 minutes. Typed back to you. Okay, thanks. Bye. Bye. Jana Marie says, CapTel is fantastic. It's for both deaf and hard of hearing. CapTel does require, I would say, that the deaf person or the hard of hearing person making the call use their voice. Oh, she does have CapTel. Well, that's interesting. So she's already kind of into it then. She's already psychologically prepared for what's to come. And that does help. Especially on the new ones where they have bright color screens and you can replay a conversation, which is wonderful that hearing people really can't do very easily. With CapTel, you can go back and rewind a whole hour conversation and reread it. So if somebody gave you a phone number or mentioned a calculation or a street address or someone's name, you can just go back and read it and see what they said. So CapTel is very interesting. Portal by Facebook, not so interesting to me. There are other ways that are more open source, more open to communication. And in the pandemic, Zoom became very big in the deaf community for teaching, for interacting. And if everyone knows the language, it's a very robust system, and it's, for a lot of times, it was free. Now I think you might have to pay if you want to talk longer than 60 minutes. But most phone calls are very quick, very short. But there's no interpreter. But there are now live captions, which is just a wonderful new method of communication. And with that, it's blood pressure break time. Back in a minute. And we are back from break. Hello, I'm David Boles. Boles.tv. BOLES.tv. One day we're holding our fingers crossed that we will one day be closed captioned here on Boles.tv for our deaf and hard of hearing friends. We've asked Twitch about it. We've applied to the partner program saying we want to be part of it. We want the 1080p broadcast so our signs can be seen more clearly, and we're not getting a response from them. Or at least to be closed captioned when we're video on demand. I know it's very demanding, technically, to closed caption anything. So on the break, I see Jana Marie said, I gave tips to hearing loss people to let the other side know to talk slightly slower so the operator can catch up. Is that Captel, Jimmy? Now, I find that when we're on a live stream like this, you really need to, when you're having a conversation, as we have had and are having, you have to talk a little bit slowly, and you have to pause patiently because it takes people a lot of time to type back, and it has to go from their phone to the internet, to the encoder, to here. And if you're looking with chat on one side and the live stream on the other side, you see that it appears in chat first, and then it appears in the live stream. So there's a little bit of a delay in chatting. Oh, there's Dora. Yes, she reminds us to talk slower. I understand. So this is about CapTel. That is very true. And just in general, people need to talk slower. And sometimes you have to pause. And sometimes you have managers and bosses who refuse, who don't want to be told what to do, and they're going to talk as fast as they can, and then things are lost in translation. And even taking the next step, when you're doing a show like this, and you put a rerun on YouTube or Facebook, if you speak too quickly, the captions cannot caption what you're saying. It just becomes a mumble jumble. So if you learn to speak just a little bit slower and a little bit more deliberately, everyone will be able to understand you a little bit better. But sometimes that's hard to do when you're all wound up. And that's why if a person says, please slow down, please speak slower, or the caption person cannot keep up with you, we really need to listen and respect that. So we have a couple more wonderful things to share today. Continue the conversation about closed captions in the chat while this is going on, if you want to. I was sent a wonderful press release yesterday about this thing called Open Souls. And it's a new movie that's coming out. Ocean Souls is what it's called. And it looks rather lovely. And I'm going to play you the trailer for Open Souls, but I'm turning off the sound because it has music on it, and I can't bear to get a notice that I can't have this played in video on demand. But what's interesting about this is there are people who do not speak English who get open captioned in this trailer, and there are other people who are speaking English, but they won't caption that. Now, do it all the way. If you're going to do half the people in your promo, do everybody in your promo. So here it is, Ocean Souls, no sound. No sound, I say, but full video. Where, oh, I have to play. He's not playing. Refresh. There we go. Now it's playing. She's saying the biggest brains in the world are not in humans, but in these animals. Ocean Souls film production. Really looks quite lovely, so look for it if you see it playing somewhere. Here's another wonderful thing that popped up. In my email yesterday. Initiated in 2016 by leading French and international thinkers. Now, were you able to see that thing that I just played? Or was I on the wrong screen? I was on the wrong screen. I guess you didn't see the whales playing, did you? I'm going to play it again. If I can. Here we go. Sorry about that. This is about Ocean Souls. He's talking about exoskeletons. The biggest skeletons in the world are in these whales and not in humans. So there you go, Ocean Souls. It's a film production. And now, this is very interesting. Initiated in 2016 by leading French and international thinkers, invited to discuss the key issues of our time, the Night of Ideas. Nuit des Ideas. Ideas is today an emblematic event acclaimed across the world of ideas and knowledge. In 2022, the Night of Ideas will be celebrated on Thursday, January 27th, which happens to be my birthday, and will boast a strong European dimension. Here is the promo. I love the idea. Every year, on the last Thursday of January, the Institute invites cultural and educational institutions from France and the 5 continents to celebrate the free circulation of ideas and knowledge. In the evening, conferences, meetings, forums, and roundtables are organized together with screenings, artistic performances, and workshops for young people focused on themes adapted to a range of interests. So it's a wonderful thing. And how do you get invited to it? Well, over 50 young people from across Europe, recognized for their commitment to human, social, and environmental rights, will present their proposals for the future of Europe at the Collège de France. The public will have an opportunity to vote for the most convincing proposals and to attend an open discussion among these young activists, experts, and decision makers. It will be a unique night of oratory and debate towards building stronger and more united Europe. Now, are we able to watch this online? Where do we go? How do we get there? It's a little confusing, but I love the idea, and I promote the idea of talking about interesting and intellectual things that can make our world better. So if you know more about this, get in touch. January 27, 2022. And with that, it looks like we have come to the end of our time together today. Been an amazing 2 hours filled with interesting video and tipping and toppling over. Oh, something happened with our lovely friend Dora. It looks like she got auto-modded for some reason. 18 messages were deleted by a moderator. It says, Boles bot timed out artist Dora for 1 second. This is the message from the bot. Not me, it's from the bot. Artist Dora, please refrain from spamming caps. Speaking, oh, she's back. She's out of being timed out. Speaking of movies, did you ever see Divorce Italian Style? I don't know. Wasn't there a TV show called Divorce American Style? Now you have me wondering. However, Dora, I forgot to mention this, and now we have time because here we are. Oh, she accidentally used caps. Isn't that interesting? It doesn't want you to use caps. Auto moderator. Over the weekend, my lovely friend Dora, we watched Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence, based on your recommendation. TCM has an app that you can download. Oh, look at that. HBO Max, fabulous. Is it a new movie or an old movie, this Divorce Italian Style? An old movie. Okay, that's good. I'm looking up something here because you've now triggered me. Oh, it's a funny movie. Now, here's my question about Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence. Now, you watched that movie, right? Because I'm going to ask you a question about it, Dora. So if you didn't watch it and you were just faking me out, you can admit to it right now. But it doesn't matter. So we watched this movie, Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence, about World War II, right? Very bizarre. David Bowie's in it. Was wonderful, but it's a Tom Conti movie. He was the main superstar in that movie, starting with Harry Carey. But what I didn't understand was the David Bowie role and the role of his younger brother. Was his younger brother killed? And then he's remembering, and was he responsible for the death of his younger brother? And that's what haunted him to be this crazy martyr with the Japanese and to give up his life? That wasn't very clear to me. It was a very interesting movie, though, by a Japanese director. And just while we're chatting, this is when Dora brought up the Divorce Italian Style. Oh, here we go. No, his brother stopped singing because brother didn't help when others came down. Yes, I remember that. So they were at the boarding school, and he never sang again. But why was David Bowie playing the role of the older brother as himself? After the older brother got beat up by the younger kids and he saved his younger brother, and he got beat up, he never again appeared as that older brother. He became David Bowie. But the young boy brother always remained the young boy. He felt guilty. So he felt guilty. I didn't. I don't think he died. Well, then I'm completely confused. Because when David Bowie went back to the garden, and the young boy was in the garden, never aged, taking care of the flowers in the beautiful estate, and David Bowie comes back to him and apologizes to him in his wearing his military uniform, in his military hat, and he puts his hat on this younger brother. The younger brother has not aged. Obviously, time has passed by. David Bowie is an older guy, dying, has a flashback to when his younger brother was, I thought, alive. See, I thought they killed him in the boarding school, the younger brother. Plain old-fashioned guilt. I had to look it up because it wasn't clear to me. Now that's a problem. When we both watch a movie and we both kind of enjoy it, but we have no idea what's going on, it's a problem in the storytelling. That's why you need a script professor. Scriptprofessor.com. Fix anything you got. Yeah, I found it very confusing. And as he was dying, buried up to his neck in sand, and he flashed back to the garden, having a conversation with his younger brother, that seemed to me to be two dead people speaking to each other. And the score was written by the main Japanese actor. Yeah, the Japanese actors were really, really, really good. And Tom Conti, who you have to have a certain taste for his style of acting, very effective. And Bowie was good too, because David Bowie is odd, and he doesn't fit into the movie. And that's precisely why they hired him, because he doesn't fit. Who's comparable to David Bowie? Absolutely, that's right. And when the movie came out, people were shocked. They said, oh my gosh, David Bowie is a massive powerhouse of an actor. And he's very skinny in this movie and very tall. And he fits perfectly because he doesn't fit. So when Dora mentioned divorce Italian style, I of course was reminded of one of the shows I watched as a kid, Love American Style. And here's the little logo for the show. I think it was on in 71 and 72. Part of ABC's Friday night primetime lineup that included The Brady Bunch, The Partridge Family, Room 222, and The Odd Couple. Now that's a superstar lineup of shows. And it was kind of silly, and it was on, I think, for, 5 years? Anthology, people falling in love, silly stories. It was a wonderful show. I enjoyed it a lot. And here is the official page on IMDb for Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence. There's David Bowie with one blue eye and one brown eye. 7.3 out of 10. I can't play the promo because it has music in it and I'll be in trouble. One of the finest films ever made, somebody says. Here's the storyline. In 1942, British soldier Jack Celliers, which is a terrible name, hard to pronounce, and most people in the movie had a hard time pronouncing that name too. That's the David Bowie role. In 1942, British soldier Jack Celliers comes to a Japanese prison camp. The camp is run by Yonoi, who has a firm belief in discipline, honor, and glory. In his view, the Allied prisoners are cowards when they choose to surrender instead of committing suicide. One of the prisoners Interpreter John Lawrence tries to explain the Japanese ways of thinking, that's Tom Conti, but is considered a traitor. Very confusing and still not clear to me about what's going on in the movie. The tagline for the movie, they were all honorable men, but what they did that can be done in the name of honor. Whoops. What'd I do? Hit the wrong button. Clicked on something not to click. Storyline. What we need is a synopsis. Trivia, goofs, user reviews. Did you know, according to David Bowie, the director directed the Japanese actors with great detail. But when it came to the British actors, they were told to do whatever it is you people do. Now that's funny, right? Oh, here we go. Tom Conti does not speak a word. Tom Conti does not speak a word of Japanese. He learned his Japanese dialogue phonetically. And he did a great job. Fantastic. I don't speak Japanese, but it sounded good to me. It didn't seem strained at all. Reportedly, Japanese actor-composer... I'll have to rewatch it as I caught it when one of the Japanese guards suicides. Rewatching it is a good idea because there's a lot going on, and it has to do with these very strange ghosts that are everywhere. David Bowie is somehow haunted by the death of his younger brother. He feels responsible for it because he was killed in the frat hazing thing. In the school hazing thing, he was drowned in the mud water. That is what I believe. The author of this film's source novel, The Seed and the Sower, once said of this filmed adaptation of his novel, "This is great and deeply moving film, the only war film I've ever seen that does not exhibit the surface drama and horrifics of war, but it penetrates into the origins and meanings of war in the human spirit. Moreover, it is honest and brave and looks with the same unevasive and unblinking eyes into the character of Japanese and Europeans." Like, okay, whatever. Music score. I couldn't believe how bad my acting was. Homosexuality in World War II POW camps is not a common story element, but has appeared prior to his early films and movies. That is big. The Japanese are very obsessed with who's gay and who isn't gay. And the Japanese kept calling David Bowie the devil. That was a big thing. And the main character who was in charge of the camp, who had very stylized eyes and had eye makeup on, and was, in my opinion, made to look a little bit feminine as part of the character, was very obsessed with David Bowie and that he was the devil. And at the end of the movie, near the end of the movie, before David Bowie got punished and buried up to his neck in sand by that guy with the feminine facial painting, which is the turning point of the movie, where David Bowie goes up to him and kisses, or whispers, it looks more like a kiss to me, kisses this Japanese guy on both sides of the face. But he's kissing or whispering, but it also looks like he's inhaling a little bit. Which to me meant that he's sucking the soul out of this Japanese officer because he is the devil. And after he sucks the soul out of this officer, what happens is the officer sort of faints away, right? Because the soul has been taken out of him. And the rest of the army knows what they've done, what he's done. He's the devil. He sucked the life out of their leader. They attack him and beat him mercilessly. And then bury him up into the sand until he dies. And then as he's dying, he reflects back on his childhood with his younger brother who never ages and who he says goodbye to in a garden. Dora was half asleep. but I kept watching. It was a captivating movie, interesting, sucking out his soul. Yes, I remember you were having knee pain and you were up all night. So you may have been coming in and out of delusion as you were watching this movie. But you made the recommendation to me, and I'm very glad you did, because we found it and it was very interesting to watch. And the reason I believe that they think that David Bowie is the devil, because they call him that, is because of his eyesight. He has the crazy one eye, the crazy blue eye, and the brown eye. And they shoot him from below, and they show off his eyes in the very first time we see him. And then they put him in front of a firing squad, and they don't kill him. Now, is that psychological torture, or are you not able to kill the devil? Very interesting. Oh, here's some photos from the movie. David Bowie in a cell. There's Tom Conti with David Bowie behind him. That's the guy who David Bowie sucks the life out of with the sort of feminine facial makeup. This is where they pretend to shoot and kill David Bowie, but he survives. Only the devil survives. This is the important scene where he sucks the life out of him. It all depends on your cultural point of view. Is he hugging him? But he goes on both sides. Is he European kissing him? Is he whispering to him? Is he inhaling? I say inhaling. And there they are in the Jeep together. I think we already saw that one. Yes, this is the main character who is terrified of David Bowie and calls him the devil. This is the Japanese officer who is infatuated with finding out if all British people are gay. And then in the end, it turns out that he's being put to death. And Tom Conti comes and visits him. It's a very touching scene, actually. Very nicely done. There's David Bowie with his crazy eyes. You can kind of see them here. I guess that's the movie poster. Another movie poster. I don't think it did big box office, but people seem to enjoy it enough. Other photographs. David Bowie. It was an interesting movie. There are the eyes. Eyes of the devil. Yeah. TCM, at least it is now. It's also, if you can't find it on TCM, it's on Criterion, I believe. Which is $10 a month, more expensive, higher class movies. If you have a cable subscription that includes TCM, you can watch that movie on demand or on your Apple TV like we did. Well, if there are any other questions, you can ask them here in chat. You can find me on Twitter at David Boles. You can email me, david@boles.tv. If you have a question about captioning, closed captioning, video phones, you can write to Jana, jana@boles.tv. On Facebook, we are just regular old Boles, B-O-L-E-S. On YouTube, we are Boles Blues. And on Instagram, we are Boles Books. You can find us everywhere and anywhere. But if you want to find us live, but not in concert, you can find us right here on Boles.tv, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern, for about 2 hours. Sometimes it go a little bit longer if we get stuck in a loop talking about movies. Fridays, Jana Marie joins us for a very formal and important lesson in American Sign Language. And then on Saturday and Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern, she takes over the show and does her own thing. And she chats about movies, and she chats about disability and deafness. Hello! Thank you for the follow. Jimping Janice 70. Now that sounds like an interesting name. Oh, it's Jama. I'm getting older, not Jana. Thank you for the follow. And Jana Marie will take your questions over the weekend and chat with you and sing you songs and talk to you about holidays and Christmas and snow and video phones and Facebook and employment and whatever else is on your mind. Our weekend show is called Ask a Deaf Person. And she throws in some sign language and some funny stories, and sometimes her friends or deaf friends will show up and throw in a many thanks and a hello and a goodbye. So until tomorrow, I bid you a good day. I thank you for being here. I will see you soon. Stay in touch and let me know what you're thinking and finding so we can share it together here with the world on Boles.tv. Thank you and have a good day.